Hey anime fan, I'm talking about Sailor Moon again. And today it's the first movie, Sailor Moon R. The movie begins with a flashback. Apparently, as a kid, Darien made a friend not long after his parents were gunned down in Crime Alley. Died in a car crash. His new friend, named Fiori, is an alien, most likely from the same species as Anne and Alan. Too bad the little ET had to go back to space not long after arriving here on terra firma. And as a parting gift, Darien gave him a red rose.
Wow, that is seriously lame.
Fiori promised to return someday with flowers for Darien. So years later, Darien, the Scouts, and longtime staple on Santa's naughty list, Rini, are at a local greenhouse, when suddenly the skies darken and flower petals start raining down from up above. Serena seems enchanted by the whole thing. But if that happened around me, you can bet I'm calling Mulder, Scully, the Ghostbusters, S.H.I.E.L.D. Fringe Division, that kid with the big head, and the freelance police, because that is some unnatural that can only mean horrible screaming doom is fast approaching. Oh, and speaking of, Fiori's back. And after a long search, he's finally found the perfect blossom to show his friendship for Darien. The Cassinian blossom. A homicidal posy who wants to wipe out humanity because everyone needs a hobby, I suppose. And the next day, the Scouts find that one of Fiori's soldiers has been turning the populace into plant zombies.
Insert the Last of Us joke here.
After taking down the cannon fodder walkers, the Sailor Senshi square off against the half-rhododendron, half-Amazon, who's a lot tougher. It takes all 5 of them to finally bring her down. Then Fiori shows up, and he is the final boss, so he slaps the girls aside without breaking a sweat. Fortunately, it's Tuxedo Mask to save the day. He sorta breaks through Fiori's brainwashing, but the poor guy doesn't have a lot of willpower, so Cassinian talks him into trying to kill Sailor Moon again. And of course, Darien takes the hit for her, the heroic schmuck. So Fiori takes a critically injured Darien back to his asteroid home base, which is passing close to Earth. But Serena's gonna put the kibosh on this evil bromance, so she and the other Inner Guardians saddle up to hit Fiori on his home turf. This, honestly, could have gone a lot better. Everyone except Serena gets captured, and Sailor Dum Dum can't bring herself to fight and risk her friend's safety. This show of loving support just about convinces Fiori to switch teams, but Cassinian ain't about to let that fly. So her and Fiori combine forces, literally. But as we've established, Fiori isn't exactly committed to the dark side, so he hesitates long enough for Tuxedo Mask to get free and finish him off with a red rose to the heart.
I must admit, I find the irony delicious.
But the Scouts aren't out of trouble yet. Without Fiori and Cassinian, their home asteroid is just a falling chunk of rock headed right for Earth. But Serena goes all Sailor Moon Super Saiyan and changes the rock's course, damn near dying in the process. But fortunately, Fiori's back one last time to donate his remaining life force to bringing Serena back from the brink. Sailor Moon R is a movie with high aspirations that it doesn't quite live up to. It's basically about 2 things. It starts off being about Darien's past. We get a couple of tidbits there. We see that he was an orphan and that he was lonely. And we also see the first time he met Serena. But about the midpoint in the movie, it shifts gears and dives into Sailor Moon's place on the team. The movie seems to know that she's the least effective member of the squad most of the time, but it's okay because Sailor Moon is the glue that holds the team together. Apparently, despite how talented they are individually, for one reason or another, the other Scouts tend to isolate themselves. I sorta need to quibble with this plot point. This makes sense for Amy and Lita, but I don't buy that Ray and Mina would have the same problems. They give some bullcrap excuse about how Venus is shy, but Mina's nothing if not a people pleaser. She wants to help, and my bet is that in a relationship, she would be most in danger of losing herself. Ray, on the other hand, would still have friends if she wasn't in the Scouts. For the same reason Azula has friends, because she would force people to hang out with her. Although with Sailor Mars, this is more because she wants the best for people rather than having a deep-seated need to control others. Ray's the kind of person who will do what's best for you whether or not you like her for it. If you need a glass of milk and a hug, Ray'll give it to you. But if you need a swift kick in the you can bet Timmy's medication Ray'll give you that and then some. Poor execution aside, I like the idea that Serena is the leader of the team because she cares about the other 4 and helps them maximize their potential. Now let's look at the bad guys, starting with the mastermind, Cassinian. She's interesting. She's basically helpless on her own, but with a capable dupe. She can raise an army of plant monsters and suck the life force out of whole planets Galactus style. That's a cool idea. Personality-wise, there's not much to say about her. She wants to suck the life out of every living thing. They don't really say why. I guess she needs it to survive, but they never say that. And in a movie that's basically an hour long, she doesn't have a lot of screen time. Although I will point out that Queen Chrysalis had 44 minutes and she owned that screen like Batman owns just about anybody. Cassinian does have neat stuff though. Her home base asteroid is probably one of the coolest locations ever on Sailor Moon. It's shaped like the Citadel from Mass Effect or the Ark from Halo, but on its inner surface it's all rolling hills carpeted in those eerie pink flowers. Now let's look at Fiori. He's a sad case. You really feel for the poor guy. He just wants to do something nice for his friend, and he ends up falling under the sway of this evil witch. Unfortunately, as far as bosses go, Fiori's a non-starter. He's clearly really powerful, but somehow he never cuts loose. But I do like how he redeems himself at the end. He's also got a really cool look. The white suit and stylish cape makes him look like an alien Bond villain. Lastly, the plant people foot soldiers are probably the best Yoma the Sailor Senshi have ever fought. They almost, but not quite, get the pretty on the outside, creepy on the inside thing perfect. It's clear that despite their humanoid appearance, they are very, very inhuman. They've got that unnatural coloring, the creepy red eyes.
And most of the time they're half plant monster.
That too. I also dig the fact that they're all identical. It increases the uncanniness of the whole situation. The fight scenes are darn cool in Sailor Moon R. Rather than your typical canned animation, they actually show what the attacks are accomplishing most of the time. And seeing the scouts wasting plant monsters wholesale is cool as hell. Although, I would think that Sailor Mars would be a little more helpful. I'm just saying, fire beats plants, right? Or does green wood not burn?
It would also have been extremely convenient if one of the Senshi had power over plants in some way.
Yeah, Lita. Rini is more tolerable than usual. She never gets too unpleasant, and the time she does whine and complain, it feels more appropriate to the situation and how a real kid might act. Although there is one frickin' bizarre scene involving Rini and a Saturday Night Special. I'm not kidding. The art in Sailor Moon R is great. The environments and character designs are seriously high speed. Finally, the movie is paced really weird. It starts off really slow with the exposition and setting up the scenario. The opening just doesn't grab you. But after the first fight, things really take off. They also keep almost killing Sailor Moon. She nearly dies like 3 times. The Grim Reaper's a busy guy, Serena, no fair keeping him waiting. Alright, let's break down the good and the bad in Sailor Moon R, the movie. On the good side, this movie has some interesting stuff to say about Darian's past and Serena's role as leader of the Scouts. The action is cool with each girl getting to cut loose and strut her stuff. This movie also shows off some really impressive character and environment design, as well as the most impressive animation in Sailor Moon so far. On the bad side, by trying to focus on both Darian's past and Serena's job, the movie kind of feels unfocused. It's also kind of backloaded with action, so the front end isn't as exciting as it should be. And finally, the movie's short, at maybe an hour long. These problems do take the bloom off this rose of a movie, but they're not that bad. So I give Sailor Moon R, the movie, 4 out of 5. Thanks for watching. I'm the Stupid Private.
Hey kids, today's show is brought to you by the letter 4 and the number potato! I'm a stupid private.